It's time for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, the show that helps you be prepared to care for your family regardless of the circumstances that may come your way. Now, here's your host for today, Mark Lamb.
Yes, once again, we're with Glenn Boblitz, Sustainable Living Made Easy. Glenn, what are we talking about, buddy?
Well, the ChatGPT, AI, all that kind of stuff, and it's really starting to get into people's jobs.
Yeah.
And it's happening fairly quickly. Everything's happening fairly quickly. But we've lost a whole lot of the tradesmen over the years because everybody went to computers.
Right.
And now the computers are running it themselves and don't need the people.
Right.
So, you know, what are you going to do with all these people?
Sure.
Because they have never picked up a skill other than something in an office environment.
Yeah.
Sitting behind a cubicle, banging out keyboard. You know, God bless them for all that they did, but
Right.
you know a lot of that went away. I heard an announcement saying if you plan on being a lawyer, accountant, or something else, he said you might want to think of another career because they've been taken over by CBT, whatever it is.
Yeah.
All
The AI stuff.
stuff.
Yeah. You got Grok.
Which can do it much better, you
Yeah.
know, and doesn't make the mistakes that people can make.
Right.
So looking at that, you might want to really consider trade schools because that is what's going to be important here.
I've been following a lot of AI stuff, and I even saw, we're going to figure out how to make a plumber be AI. No, you're not.
No.
There's too many variables.
Well, I've never seen anybody that could twist a wire and hook up a receptacle.
Right, electricians. Right.
I've never seen anybody be able to crimp a copper line or PEX line.
The only way to
run it up to the floor for you.
Right.
You can't do that.
The only way
the guy.
You could pull even something remotely like that would be the pre-made homes. And everything had to be cookie cutter, and they could figure out a robot like that help put the cars together.
Right.
It would have to be so regimented, generic, everything the same, so you can program it. Because houses aren't the same. You can build the same model 3 times, and you're going to get a variation in each one of them.
Yep. Somebody's going to come in and change something different.
Right, I don't like that wall
covering.
Yeah,
moving walls, that kind of stuff. The way the plumbing has to go in because of the geography of the land, it's going to be. So a lot of that stuff is being done by AI, figuring it out. What's the best way to run the plumbing?
Right.
Now they've been doing that for quite a long time.
Yeah, and that'll work to get it on a set of plans.
CAD.
Yeah, with
CAD drawings.
Exactly.
You give it there, you put it in the bathroom fixtures, and the computer program says this is the best route.
Right.
Which is fantastic, and they can print it out in a 3D form, like a single line drawing, where
Right.
you just the plumber can look at it and go, okay, I see what I need to do.
Yeah.
The carpenter goes, that makes no sense to me because he don't. That's not his bailiwick.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And then you got guys that can kind of do it all.
Can we talk
Those
about
are
bailiwick
super-
for just a second?
Bailiwick. Go ahead.
Just for a split second, because my grandson was here, the last couple of weeks, and I was telling him words that wasn't even as far back as bailiwick. But, I'd say cattywampus or something, and he'd shake his head like, what are you saying, Gramps? So the bailiwick would be in your wheelhouse kind of thing. Would that be?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to make sure I was on the same page.
I pulled that one out of the deep archives, didn't I?
Yeah.
But all these plumbers and things that have been around for years have been around for years.
Yeah, exactly.
They're tired. They're giving it up, and their sons or their nephews or grandsons, they don't want to do that.
I know.
And that started 20 years ago or more. Well, who's going to replace those people?
Right.
So if there's only a few really good plumbers left, a few really good electricians, HVAC, and I see that a lot in HVAC. Those are the higher paying jobs. It's no longer the computer analyst. It's no longer, when a plumber comes out, he's going to shock you.
Yep.
A mechanic, Holy cow.
Yeah.
$200 an hour is not unheard of for a shop to charge per man hour. $200 an hour. Now the lawyer's going, well, what about me? Don't need you.
He's the one getting replaced
Chat,
by AI.
All the AI stuff can do just about everything that your lawyer can do with the exception of not being able to walk up in court.
Right.
So I'm just saying your world's changing around you, and the people that you're going to really count on to keep your house running are going away.
Yeah.
I'm getting close to the retirement age. Had a birthday this weekend, and I'm,
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it's hit 64, so I'm getting tired too. Shoulders hurt, that kind of stuff. Been doing it a long time. But over the years, I've always tried to teach people that work for me my skills that I have.
Right.
And I've done quite a wide variety of jobs. So I got to teach a lot of stuff that they could use in their home, in their business, to keep it up and running. Right. If you're a farmer, farmers have always been a jack of all trades. You had to, because he couldn't afford to send a plumber out to do it.
Right.
He just said, I can do this. Because his dad showed him, his granddad showed him, and so on and so on. But that's not happening anymore. So if you have kids that are coming up and going to college, you might want to reconsider sending them to some Ivy League college, which you're going to pretty much ruin them, is to send them to a trade school. And if you are a county councilman, or doesn't matter what it is, government-wise, you might want to start looking at some serious trade schools that are need to be built, need to be implemented. They're going away, and we need them desperately.
Yeah.
You can always find somebody who can punch on a computer. There's just so many of them. But the carpenters, the plumbers, all those guys are crucial. Ask anybody that's had their HVAC go out on them in a building. You know, 5-story building. There's a lot of tenants in there, and if you don't take care of that building, they're gonna be upset. They may even move out on you if you just don't take care of your building. Well, that takes some skilled people to do that. So,
it does.
What are we doing here? Even the most simplest tasks that an electrician would do, change out a switch, change out, a receptacle, hooking up something, it doesn't matter what it is. Those are kind of simple tasks for an electrical contractor or electrician. But to the average homeowner, it's kind of scary. Nobody wants to get shocked. I've been shocked enough to know that you don't want to do it a second time.
Right.
So having enough knowledge and skills to be able to do it yourself, because you're not going to be able to get these people. They're just not. Home Depot and Lowe's both have an installed sales program where if you buy something, they'll send somebody out to install it for you. There was a lady that I knew that had a dishwasher put in. They sent these tattooed up kids out there to deliver it, and they were supposed to hook it up. Well, the kid walked in and goes, I'm not touching that. He didn't want to unhook from the electrical system. I guess he didn't know how to turn the breaker off or find the breaker, but he just wouldn't touch it. Same way with the plumbing, a flexible plastic line. He goes, I'm afraid that's going to break and leak, and didn't want to touch it.
Wow.
Well, if you'd have been in these trades, you would go, no big deal. You just put a union in there and keep on getting it. But to these people, they had no idea what to do. And these are simple things.
Right.
So back to Home Depot and all, they're having a terrible time finding anybody to do their installed sales program.
Oh, really?
That's competent.
Yeah,
Everybody will raise their hand. Sure, I'll do that because the money's
good,
decent, I mean, it ain't top dollar for sure, but it's steady work. And there's not a contractor out there that just wouldn't fall all over himself to have somebody that is skilled and competent. Well, those people are pretty old, and they're just not wanting to
Yeah.
start a career over again or
Right.
do it again. You know, I'm getting old enough now. There's some projects I just don't want to tackle anymore. They're just too big.
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm scared of the work. It's I don't need to.
Right.
You know, I can do the smaller jobs, and I'm fortunate enough to be blessed enough that I can pick and choose kind of what I want to do. But I don't know what people are going to do just keeping their home up.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
you just can't
maintaining
get.
it.
How many times have you heard, I can't find nobody to do this? It's just pitiful.
Yeah.
And there's nobody coming into it.
Yeah.
So if the old guys are taking the knowledge with them and, you know, moving to Florida,
Yeah.
and the young people go, I don't want to do this, can you see the separation with this giant gaping hole of tradesmen?
Yeah.
Got to do something about that.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure what the answer is, but somebody better come up with one.
You know, Glenn, that's where things like the Build Smart Institute out of Roanoke, I was so excited when I found out about them. You know, you can learn how to put a drop ceiling in, that kind of thing. They do these modulars where it's intense training on how to do that, specializing, you know, in one thing like that. But I mean, if you're in commercial work, that's a needed kind of a thing. But, you know, you're right. We need those type of Build Smart Institutes all over the country. And I think people are seeing it. It's the big companies like Morris, who has their own program,
Right.
you know, Coleman Adams, Southern Air, those big construction companies too. They see it and they're trying to do something about it. Some of them are doing their own training programs, but it's the recruitment part that's hard too. You know, it's getting someone that just doesn't want to do something with their thumbs on their phone.
Right. The tradesman stuff is not glamorous.
Right.
Ask any plumber that's had to dig a ditch. You know, it's just not glamorous. So these kids are coming up going, what do you mean I got to dig a ditch to be part of this job?
Right.
Well, that's part of your job.
Sure.
You know, you got to get the water line in the house.
Yep.
So, and it's got to come on the ground so it don't freeze. You know, come on here, kid. They don't want to do that. So they get all fired up because there's money out there in that trade. And then they find out, holy crap, I may have to sweat, get dirty, get my hands dirty, have achy back because I really worked hard today. They're not into that. They already know that it's going to be work.
Yeah.
And the recruitment part, just like you said, is not incentive enough for them to even come in. Once they get there, they find it is hard work, and you have to work for that kind of pay, as opposed to, you know, using your brain and come up with all these great ideas and be an entrepreneur. And those are kind of like hitting the lottery in the NFL.
Yes.
Imagine how many kids get beat up and tore up and hurt, injured, lifelong trying to get into the NFL. Well, these people don't want to go that route.
Right.
You know, these young kids, and it's not just men or boys, it is women that have tried to do it because the money's so much better. And they figure out this is just too hard.
Right.
So you get this respect for the old guys. You know, my dad, you know, I'd see him leave in the dark and come home in the dark, just because that's what he had to do to stay on schedule and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And it's all performance-based. Your pay is directly tied to how well you perform and how much work you get done in a day. Some people can stay at home and work from home a couple hours, work a couple hours really hard and be impressive, and they don't have to do nothing else all day. Well, the tradesmen are not like that.
No.
So in saying all that, we know that there's a gap in these skilled people to come to your home and fix stuff for you. Well, what happens if we have a natural disaster? You know, Florida is notorious for having hurricanes come through, tear up a bunch of crap, and roofers are super busy, as you can imagine, because, you know, houses lose shingles and whatnot.
Sure.
So that's a good example of how bad it could get in a hurry. Well, what if you had a lot of grid failures, and when stuff comes on, a lot of stuff gets burnt up, EMP, solar
Sure.
flare, you name it, we could have it. Earthquakes, they could disrupt a lot of
We
stuff.
talked about Yellowstone over there.
Yeah,
Gurgling.
there's just a myriad of things that could happen in a widespread disaster. Now, in times of war or civil unrest, things get tore up. So at some point you got to fix it back or get it going again enough to maintain yourself. Well, can you do that at your own home? My suggestion is you start buying up how-to books. You know, and there are some of them that are very simplistic. Start there till you can get a grasp, and then you can, get HVAC for dummies.
Yeah.
You can only do so much HVAC work if you're not in the trades, and all the HVAC guys are going, how dare he tell anybody? Well, if a fuse blows out at a disconnect, the homeowner can do that. But as far as checking pressures and that kind of thing,
Freon and all that.
you can't even buy Freon if you don't have a license, which is a good thing because that's pretty dangerous stuff for our environment. But all the other trades, you got a chance at. Plumbers for dummies. I just keep using that analogy of that series of books because it's well known. But there's other books out there about the trades, and you never know. You may say, hey, I kind of like plumbing work and repairs and service work. Service work is very lucrative. Now you have to have a clientele and a good service van where you can go out and fix all that stuff. And you can't carry everything you need to do plumbing in one van. The van would have to be a 40-foot long truck.
It sure seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, you need $20,000 worth of tool to do a $100 job, but you'll get set up to do the maintenance end of it or the repairs end of it.
Yeah.
And people will just fall all over themselves for you to do that.
Yeah, sure.
I put in a little drainage system around this lady's house, and she was just flabbergasted that we come in, did what we said we were going to do, cleaned it all up.
Right.
I mean, every blade of grass, we made sure there wasn't no dirt on it and cleaned it just absolutely, reseeded everything. And she took a picture of it. She said, it's never looked this good.
Wow.
Redid her sidewalk, had a stone side walkway, and redid all that for us. She said, I've hated that stone walkway because everything was uneven.
Right.
So now it looks all nice. But those are the kind of things that a small operator or an individual can do for these homeowners. I've looking in around the neighborhood coming in,
and they'll spread the word for you.
Oh yeah. Who did that for you?
Yeah.
Looking around the neighborhood coming in, I seen plants growing in people's gutter.
Right.
I'm thinking they don't have a maintenance guy in this area.
Right.
Mr. Fix-It. In my area, I am definitely the Mr. Fix-It guy for about everything.
Okay.
Some stuff is just dumb, and I'm going, how can these people not know how to fix this? Which is foolish because I've been around so long, it's easy for me.
Right.
But for somebody that doesn't know, it's not.
It's very intimidating.
Yeah, it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Or don't have the tools. That kind of stuff.
Well, like you said about the plumber. I mean, I've seen these big plumbing trucks that have it's a van cab, but it's got a mechanical box on the back.
Right.
And, I mean, like you said, there's still a good chance he's not going to have the part in there that he needs.
It's almost impossible to carry everything you need.
Yeah.
And I've done some remodels and things over the years. And if you mess with that trap under the sink, it's going to leak when you go to put it back.
Right.
It's just going to.
Yep.
So the minute you get under there and look, you go, yep, going to get a brand new trap.
Yeah.
Because as sure as the world, if I take that out to change this sink, I'm going to have a leak and I'll fight it all day long.
Yep.
Don't do that.
Just get it done and put a new
buy
in
the
there.
$20 trap kit and you'll be money ahead.
Yep, it's cheaper.
So those are the kind of things that you'd have to learn after about 15 years of doing it. You just pick this skill up and that skill up, and you go, oh, I see, that's trouble right off the bat. electrical trades. If you go into a house and don't see the ground wire, you go, well, if I open this up, I become responsible
Yeah.
to bring it up to code.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why a lot of electricians will walk away from a house that it doesn't have the ground wire in the receptacles because you're responsible, which I don't really agree with, but that's the law.
Right.
And if you want to be in that trade, you must follow those trade laws and county laws.
Mm-hmm.
So the customer's not going to understand that when you go, it's going to cost you an extra $5,000 for me to bring a
That up to
ground
code.
wire up, bring this up to code, because the minute I touch it, I got to fix it.
Yep.
So do you want me to touch it? And they go, for $5,000? Heck no, just let it stay. So is it good? Is it smart? No. But that's the way it is. Customer, that's his house, his money, and you spend it as he pleases.
Sure.
But knowing all these little laws and things that you should know, if you're going to go into a paid professional trade, you need the education behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was talking about the schools. I really think we ought to push these trade schools.
I agree.
A lot of the community colleges used to be oriented for trades.
Yes.
There's one in Dublin, Virginia. It was built for the trades.
Okay.
But when computers popped in, they pushed all the trades down into the basement and out the door.
Wow.
They had the best instrumentation class in the United States, and they let them push them right out the door.
That's sad.
That's foolish
That's
because
sad. That
a
is
2-year
foolish.
instrumentation degree will get you a 6-figure salary the day you walk out the door.
Wow.
And they let that go out the door
Yeah, yeah.
for a job that pays maybe $30,000 and everybody's competing for.
Yeah.
So,
There is a glut in that computer industry. And here's another thing about the computers. Programmers, they're saying AI is so smart that it's teaching itself that programmers are going to be almost obsolete.
you can write a program by telling AI to write it for you.
Mm-hmm. Tell you what the needs
Right.
are, and it's crazy.
Here's your parameters. Spit that out for me, and it's done in minutes.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was right.
I just lost my job because of what I just told that computer to do. At any rate, we can see that coming, but it's progress, folks.
Yeah, it's progress. You're not going to stop it.
You either move along with it, or
Yeah.
you retreat from it, one or the other, and that's happening a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
People just are disconnecting from it. It's just too much.
Yeah.
So they, if they've got the means and the capital, they just move out to somewhere secluded and go, I'm just going to homestead back here and do the best I can.
Right.
They find out that's a dang tough job,
That's
but
another tough
but-
job. You're right.
they go, it's satisfying.
It is.
It's peaceful.
It is, and
I
it's.
mean,
and it's
what's peace worth to you?
yeah.
you know?
Well, a lot of people
lot.
spend a lot of money trying to find it.
Exactly.
There's something too about being satisfied and having a sense, even though there's frustrations with every job in construction, can be, worse than others because
Well,
of
that's why
everybody
they pay
down
you
the
for it.
Even when you build, because you've been working on somebody's, garage, you build a garage for somebody, you drive away that last time, and every time you drive by it, there is a sense of satisfaction and
yeah.
completion that you were part of that.
I've done a lot of lighting work for quite a few car lots around and roadway lighting for apartment complexes and that
Right.
kind of stuff. And, it's funny for me to go by and go, yeah, I put that in. You go play softball at one of these county fields and you go, yeah, I put them big lights up.
Yeah.
And they go, wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want that part of construction. That's why I kind of got into it. It's a niche market, especially the sports lighting. You're talking about big auger trucks and cranes and trenchers and all that. Them electricians don't want to be out in that middle of that field in August and trenching, digging ditches. Let's just face it, I dig ditches for a living. But I said, okay, I'll do that because the money is good enough that I'll put my sweat equity into it and the effort and get it done. There's some people that just say, okay, I just want to do a small electrical or electronics or that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Okay, you know, that's good for you. That's your niche market.
Right.
I don't want to compete against everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd far rather find a little niche that suits me and pays me well enough to continue to do it.
Sure.
But all these skills are not being picked up.
Mm-hmm.
It's too easy to just over the years to pick up the phone and go, you know, come fix my plumbing.
Right.
When you could have fixed it yourself, you just didn't want to do it, and you didn't want to take the time. Scared of doing it,
Mm-hmm.
but you could have educated yourself
On
first.
YouTube, I mean, as long as the
Yeah, oh my
internet's up
gosh,
and running,
that-
you can learn a lot.
That, you know, that's almost like a GBT or
Yeah.
whatever it is, stepson.
Right.
You know, that's the antique version of AI was YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You just pulled it up and it told you how to do it. Well,
Yeah.
now you just talking to your phone and
Yeah.
say, "How do I?" And
Yeah.
it pulls up something off
kinds of stuff.
YouTube. You know, because it uses everything. You
It
know?
does.
AI uses all the internet.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. How can it search the entire internet?
And then do it so quickly,
Well,
too. It's
just the computing power of that alone, it has to be just astronomical.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to build all these power plants to
Yeah,
power
to
all
power
that.
all of it.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother issue. But these trades are not going to go away. You're always going to use electricity. You're always going to have water running to your house, you know,
Yeah.
and you're going to have running water out of your house. So, you know, the plumber has to know how to do it in both directions.
both ways, yeah.
HVAC, you don't always have to have that, but most people do. You know, if you want your wife happy, you better
Yeah.
be able to cool the house down
Exactly.
and heat it up in the wintertime. Not many people are burning wood anymore. That seems to be taboo anyway.
Right.
Fuel oils. I mean, we used to burn a lot of coal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's fairly dirty fuel, but it brought us through and changed the entire industrial revolution was through coal.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things keep changing, and it just makes a different trade. That's all it's really doing. It just gets a little cleaner, a little better, a little faster, a little stronger.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are always going to be around. And because man built them, they're always going to have issues with them. There's always going to be a leak. There's always going to be something
Right.
that breaks. And if you can fix this kind of stuff, the world's your oyster. So it used to be we were second-class workers, you know, the carpenter. Now you get praised for building a set of steps or fixing something on a guy's roof, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Same way with all the professional trades. People just love you to death and are so appreciative when you come out and show up on time or even return phone calls.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Why aren't you guys returning phone calls and doing what you say you do? If you're going to be there at 4 o'clock, you know, be there at 3:45.
Yeah, and if you're going to be late, just let them know. They'll understand.
It's just a good communication thing. So it seems like we're not doing that good a job at that kind. Maybe it's just arrogance. Oh, I've got so much work, I don't have to do that. Well, you're damaging yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of that, you could make a decent living at this. Is what I'm saying. But you're going to have to do a good job because the people that used to be in computers are looking at other industries where they can make a $200,000 a year, which you could do fairly easily if you were into one of the trades.
Yeah, and you can go out there and hustle. You can do it.
If you put in your 40 hours a week, and you ain't got to hurt yourself, you know, you can go out there 40 hours a week, put a little sweat equity into it, and make that if you're in business for yourself. Now, if you're a highly skilled electrician or HVAC guy, and you may get commission based on some of your projects, you could make that as an employee. But you did better be darn good at your job if you're gonna be an employee and make $200,000.
Yeah.
So it could be just a stepping stone. It could be just a way to make a decent living till you find something better. But You know, you start looking into these trades, and you can't just walk in at top pay as these people. Again, it's all performance based.
Right.
You know, you can't turn in this fabulous resume and then not be able to perform to it. It doesn't take an electrician about 5 minutes to figure out you don't know nothing when the boss sends you a helper who's supposed to be an electrician.
So,
You know, he's going to report that back going, this guy ain't worth $10 an hour, much less 20.
So I was a cabinet maker, right?
Oh,
I go to
yeah.
work at Taylor Brothers Mill Shop. Well, cabinet making's just a percentage of mill work. You know, you
Right.
do moldings, arched openings, the whole 9 yards. I'd never done any of that. So they brought me over to the store. This is back when the mill shop still is to the right, the building on the right when you pull into Taylor Brothers, the old mill shop. To the left is the actual store, and then contractors in the back. So they wanted me to do a display, and the store manager was a builder at one time, but he became store manager at Taylor Brothers. So he's telling me, and I'm trying to write all this stuff down. He said, now, you know, just use a 6-inch base and a quarter round, and then I want you to do 2-member chair rail, and then a 3-member crown molding at the top. And I'm writing all this stuff down, not knowing. I mean, what's a 2-member chair rail? I mean, and then the crown molding. I'd never cut crown molding. I didn't know how to cut it. You got to cut it upside down and backwards. You know, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just like and it was just it was like a little corner.
Right.
You know, it was 4 foot down one side, down the other. I got to build the wall, drywall. I got to do all that. I could do all that. But when it came to, you know, when I came back after they painted it and to do all this crown molding and all that, it was, and then I had to return the crown molding into itself to kill it at the end of the wall.
Right.
That was a whole new experience, you know. But you know the old saying, fake it till you make it. They did have a sample board back in contract sales, so I was able to kind of understand. You have to educate yourself.
Right.
You know, try not to look like a deer with the headlights, because if we would have had YouTube back then, I probably would have watched a video.
Yes.
To figure all this out. But I kind of had to learn, you know, on my own, unfortunately. But you can overcome it. I was, you know, like I said, I was a cabinet maker even at that young age. I was in cabinets for at least 10 years up to that point. And I was a little shocked and a little scared.
Right.
But then it came. It came to me. You do it once or twice, it'll come to you.
Yeah, you do anything enough, you can figure out what's the best and the easiest way and what makes it look the nicest.
And the
you
beauty,
know.
Glenn, back then at Taylor Brothers, they ran almost all their moldings over at the shop. So there were literally thousands of feet of every molding. So if I screwed something up, I just went
Right.
back to the back and got another piece.
Yeah, it's not like it's $14 a foot.
Right.
You know, from a molding manufacturer.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I put up some pretty large crowns through Orac. You ever hear that? Orac made huge crowns that normally would be a 7-piece crown.
okay, and it's all one piece.
But it's all out of not styrofoam.
It's a composite of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just dense polyethylene.
Yes, I've seen that.
But I had to make my own miter box.
Yes.
And use a handsaw to do it. And these stuff was 30 feet in the air. And,
Sure.
And at $30 a foot,
Yeah.
you can't go ups.
Yeah, you can't go ups.
cannot go ups. But you know, I know what you mean by cutting your crown molds upside down and backwards, and never turn your back on your work. All those kind of little things. And the first thing you got to do is what degree is it sitting at on the thing? Is it a 52? Is it a 45?
Right.
So you try to tell people now, and it's just a blank look because they knew nothing about angles.
Right.
You know, and how angles work and congruent angles and how that all fit. And these are carpenters' jobs. Carpenters that everybody thinks, oh, dumb carpenter. He ain't dumb. You know, he's got a skill set that it would take you 25 years to get.
Get it. Yeah.
Back in the day, in the 40s, in order to call yourself a carpenter, you had to go through 3 blue books. Blue books were apprentice.
Oh, okay.
I forgot what the one in the middle is.
And the journeyman's
Carpenter, whatever it was, and then a master carpenter.
A master carpenter. Okay.
If I handed the apprentice book to a self-proclaimed carpenter today, he'd say, I can't finish the book. I don't know enough.
Right.
And my dad, through the Navy, through the Navy, he went through all 3 books.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when after World War II and he got out of the Navy, he got a good paying job doing carpentry work. It didn't pay a whole lot, but it was a good job, steady. It was because he could do all those things. Those staircases, if you've ever done a staircase, that is a pretty technical.
I've watched it. I've not done one. I've replaced step treads, but I have never built a staircase. And I've in the handrail systems and stuff.
Yeah, like a newel post at the bottom is one thing, and that's the beginning of your handrail. But if it's a volute, which is the spiral staircase,
Yes.
It's still a newel post, but it has a spiral to it. It's just a very fancy thing, and it may go up and it may gooseneck up, change directions, roll around. Holy cow. At 14, I went on a job on the Eastern Shore, and they had $20,000 worth of handrail stuff to put up. Now, this is way back.
Yeah. That
early
would be
70s,
a lot more now.
And, watched my dad do this stuff. And I was going, wow, he's a lot smarter than I thought.
Yeah.
We don't realize how smart our parents were sometimes
Sure.
until after we get old enough and make a bunch of mistakes and go, wow, Dad was smart. But those are very technical things that you don't see no more because the skills are not there anymore. Why do we have cookie cutter housing? Because we can't build any better unless you pay some exorbitant amount of money, and they'll probably come from out of state to do it because they're not local anymore.
Right.
It's just very specialized things. So they do the cookie cutters kind of stuff, stain grade. Have something stain grade made in your house as far as trim work. You're going to pay big bucks.
Yeah.
Because you can't caulk it.
Right.
It must fit
It's just
like it grew together.
Yeah.
So you have to develop these fine skills when you talk about a trade. You can say plumber, but the plumber, to make a system work right, work efficiently, there's skills there.
Yeah.
Just laying it all out, even though if you do have a computer program. But the HVAC stuff is very technical, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
Being able to diagnose and make sure that your system is running optimal. It's not unheard of to say $20,000 for an HVAC. It's for a house, and not a big house. And that better run right. Or it'll wear the equipment out, or it won't work properly, won't cool properly, won't heat properly. So these people that have these skills and know their trade should be paid well because they put the sweat equity into it, and you're going to pay for that experience.
Exactly.
If you can go in and fix an HVAC system in 10 minutes. And no one else can, you didn't pay the guy for what he did. You paid him for what he knows.
Yeah.
There you go.
I used to have an old DJ buddy of mine. He said, I won't pull my truck out of the house for anything less than back then it was $550 or $600. He said, I got $30,000 of equipment sitting in there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to load half of it.
Right.
I can't pull it. I can't load it and pull it out of my driveway for anything less than 5.5.
Tools, I had an old belt sander that I've had for 25 years, and it fell off the counter and broke the little tension corner on it, and it won't hold my belt no more, I was like, well, 25 years, I'll get a new one.
Yeah.
Oh, I was a little angry when I found out that exact same one is now about $350.
Really?
I was like, holy cow. When I paid, it probably was a $100 belt sander back then, which was a lot of money even then, but now it's just crazy. So can you imagine a guy that's got a whole van full of tools, or a whole box truck full of tools, or a full behind trailer that's full of tools? That's what you're paying for.
Yeah.
And there's just so many tools you need to do a certain job, It doesn't matter. We go back to HVAC. That guy, he's got to have a recovery pump now. When he goes to work on your unit, he has to be able to draw that Freon in, not just release it to the air. Or you talk about a fine. That's a fine. So that thing may be $4,000. So you look at this guy dragging stuff out of his van for 30 minutes. Hadn't even worked yet.
Right.
He's just getting set up to work. Right. Carpenter. He's got a whole bag full of chisels, tools, screwdriver, because he needs them all.
Yeah.
Every saw and drill and you could think of, and it's costly.
Yeah.
So to start a business like that is a little bit costly. That's why you kind of work with someone else, learn a little bit, build your tool inventory,
accumulate
and
your
you
tools.
could do these things, even if it's on the side. But the main thing is be able to maintain your own house.
Yeah.
You need a pretty good tool inventory.
Mm-hmm.
I'm blessed enough that I've been gathering tools for years, and I can fix pretty much everything in the house, and I need to, because my wife can tear up some stuff in a day's time. There'll be something on my counter to fix, but that also means she's doing a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you break a handle out of a shovel because you were digging hard.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
I'm not going to complain too much about that. But
otherwise, she may chase you.
But
with it.
But if you
handle or the spade,
if you run over it with the tractor, I'm not going to be happy about it. But so gather up some tools, gather up some knowledge,
and like you said at the beginning, gather up some of those books if you can find them.
How simple is that to have a reference of something that you can say? Yeah, I've seen that somewhere. Let me go look in my book. People have a lot of trouble out of three-way switches. Worst thing I can happen to me when working on a three-way switch is to have the homeowner in it before I got there, because he's moved the wires around, and there may be 3 boxes or 3 switches that are tied together in just the right way, because the electrician knew what he was doing.
You're going to be doing a little work at my house here in the weeks ahead, so let me just go ahead and tell you.
Did I just poke you in the eye?
No, you didn't poke me, because I wouldn't mess with the 3-way switch. But I've made some 4-way boxes that probably should have stayed 2, but we're going to be demoing those in the next weeks ahead.
It's I got to give the guy kudos for even opening up the cover. And he looked in there and he says, "It's just 3. Surely I could do it. What's this extra 4th one for?"
Right.
Well, it's white, so I'm gonna put it with the other white, and the breaker kicks, and you go, "What happened?" But having these books gives you a visual without being shocked.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Or burning your house down.
Right.
Let's face it, electrical current will burn a house down.
Yeah, it will.
And I'm not trying to scare you away from doing it. You need to be educated before you do it.
Yeah.
So, and it's good to know how to turn the breaker box off. And there's always a little caveat at the beginning of all these books saying, always turn the breaker off. Now, who do you think that doesn't do that? It'd be the electrician. He thinks he's smart enough. He don't have to. I can work it hot. And, he burns up something.
Yeah.
Somebody's computer. Yeah.
Oh, Lordy.
Get yourself some books and educate yourself, even if they're the most simplest of basic of books. What's that place? Ollie's. Ollie's has some great how-to books.
Yeah.
Because nobody buys them.
Yeah. And
nobody wants to do that.
And now you're over. If it's by the time it gets to Ollie's, it's been discounted quite a bit.
It might have been a $30 book at one time, but now it's $5 on the on sale table.
Sure.
And you go, wow, that may be a good piece of my library. And I got a pretty decent library of stuff that I didn't know I need.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll learn it, keep it, and reference back to it. That's a good thing. For a homesteader looking for the crap to hit the fan, having a library is a good thing.
Yeah.
All right, that's about all I had.
Well, Glenn, thank you. That's good stuff, man, and it hits close to home because I was in the trades for most of my life. So, if you want more information from Glenn, or you want him to cover a topic, here's the phone number to text 434-248-0704. That's 434-248-0704, or reach out to him through Facebook.
Yes. Sustainable Living Made Easy. Glenn Boblitz. Look us up.
We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.
Join us again next week for Sustainable Living with Glenn Boblitz, helping you be prepared and not scared. This podcast drops every Friday anywhere you get your podcast.